Alrighty then, up next, representing the oral and written communication soft skills suggested by the National Association of Colleges and Employers. We have Janet Winscoe. So, this is a superstar FAU alum. Janet Winscoe is the Senior Vice President and Human Resources at City Furniture. A strategic and proven leader, Janet is responsible for all aspects of human resources, including talent management, recruiting, training and development, associate relations, compensation and benefits, and health and wellness at City Furniture. She also serves as the Secretary and Treasurer of the Broward County Workforce Development Board, as long as the Vice Chair of the Florida State University Center for Human Resource Management Board. Janet earned her Master's of Business Administration degree and Bachelor's of Business Administration degree with a concentration in Human Resource Management at Florida Atlantic University, and she holds a Professional in Human Resources designation. So, representing the oral and written communication skill, please help me in giving a warm welcome to Janet Winscoe.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Awesome. How y'all doing this afternoon? Doing good? So I, like Karen, actually started at FAU back in the I was here in mid to late 80s. Y'all are probably thinking, oh my God, you're really, really old. FAU looked very different back then. We were primarily a commuter campus. We had, I don't even think we had any Greek life then. We had very few student organizations. We didn't have parking garages. Do you think parking's bad now? Imagine what it was with no parking garages. We didn't even have traffic lights. We had no football team. Therefore, we had no football stadium. So very, very different. So super proud of FAU and where our university's going, and look forward to continuing to be a part of it. I started at City Furniture, which was actually called Waterbed City, back in 1989, December of 1989, 1 week before I graduated from college. And I had received several promotions along the way, and about 10 years into my career, I thought, I really need to go back and get my MBA. I work in it's furniture industry, a lot of privately held companies, pretty male-dominated. So I work in a male-dominated industry and company. To this day, I'm the only female vice president that City Furniture even has. And yes, give it up for chick power, right? Right. So I have to represent a lot of ladies in our organization. And I said, I got to go back and get my MBA. So I was working full-time, very important career. I had 2 small children, a husband who also worked in retail, and I was balancing also, obviously, a part-time school schedule. So pretty crazy, a lot going on. Took me 5 years. That's persistence for you. Somebody asked me, are you going to walk? I said, heck yeah. It took me 5 years to do this. I'm walking, and I'm going to walk slow. So everybody can watch me walk across that stage 5 years later. So great experience. I still remain very actively involved with FAU. I sit on 3 boards here. I sit on the Secretary of the Alumni Association Board, and I sit on the Dean of the College of Business Advisory Board for all you business majors out there as well. And then another board with the the Vice President of Student Affairs. So still actively involved. I think what you'll see throughout my presentation today, I'm going to be able to provide a little bit of a different perspective. First of all, we have some great presenters that I'm presenting with today, but I am like a lot older than them. Like they all recently graduated, and I'm an old-time grad. So I'll bring that perspective. I'm also a mom. Excuse me. I have a 22-year-old daughter who's in grad school at Louisiana Tech. And I have a son that's a senior in high school at Cardinal Gibbons. Any Gibbons? Any Chiefs in the crowd? All right, go Chiefs. So I'll bring the mom perspective, but I'll also bring the employer perspective. You know, I represent City Furniture, a very large employer on campus, so I'll bring that as well. So I was asked to talk about communications, written communications, verbal communications, and I started thinking about what communication's key, right? It's critical, it's vital, it's essential. We communicate all day. Show of hands, admit it. I will admit it first. The first thing when you woke this morning, who grabbed your phone, raised your hand, and looked at text messages, Snapchat, Instagram, whatever your social media, of choice is? Who? Everybody, right? We all did, absolutely. And we will continue to communicate all day long until we go to bed at night. So we either picked up our phone Or we maybe turned and looked at our roommate. Maybe we're a commuter and we were at home talking to our parents or our siblings, but we communicate all day, right? So clearly it's critical. But even though it's critical, and we all understand that, I think we all don't understand how to be good communicators, because you can communicate, right? But if it's not good, it's going nowhere. So I'm going to talk about some different tips and things that you can do to communicate effectively. Think about a time, before I do that though, think about a time when, in another show of hands, have you ever been told something that made you feel upset, that pissed you off? Let's face it, something pissed you off. Something made you cry, or whatever. Or maybe you got an email, right? Or a text message maybe, right? And you're like, God, I can't believe that person just wrote that to me, or what's happening here? So that's an example of poor communication, and that just leads to what? Frustration, conflict, poor productivity in the workplace, those types of things. So what I'd like to do is share some tips with you that you can walk away with today and start applying, okay? So tip number 1, communication must be hot. Not hot like my shoes, because girls, aren't those hot, by the way? I know, exactly. Not hot like my shoes. Hot, H-O-T. Hot, honest, H, honest, O, open, and T, two-way. Or you could take out two-way and put timely. Both of those fit in there. So you want to make sure that when you're communicating that you're always openly communicating and being honest, even if it's not great information, right? We don't, a lot of times we get great information. You got into your school of choice, right? You got into FAU. That was great when you got that email, right? Maybe you got a job, maybe whatever it might be. That's great communication. But sometimes you get communication that's not as good, right? But it's still honest. You still need it, right? So it's all about that communication and what we call at City Furniture, speaking the truth in love. Maybe a tough conversation, you still have to have it, just do it respectfully. Another tip number 2, you have to be present. Another show of hands. How many of you have been in a conversation with somebody? It could be a parent, it could be a friend, a coach, a teacher, and you are talking to them and you think you're like talking to yourself, right? Right, it happens all the time, right? That's it? Like every day I feel like I'm talking to somebody and nobody's listening back to me. So you constantly feel like they're not present for you. So one of my tips is be present. If you're talking to somebody, don't look at your cell phone. Don't be texting. If you got your laptop, close your laptop, waving at everybody. You've got to be present for people. It's very, very, very important. Another tip, listen. Listening is just as important. God gave us what? 2 ears and 1 mouth. Why? So we can listen twice as much as we speak, right? That's a good one. 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we can listen twice as much as we speak. You want to make sure you're actively listening. What happens is, most of the time, if you're not, you're constantly thinking about, what's my response going to be, right? Who does that? Somebody's talking, show of hands, you do it. Show of hands. You're literally saying, oh my God, this person's saying this. This is what my response is going to be. So you're not really listening. So you want to make sure you listen. How about tone? Tone is so important because sometimes even if you're getting not great information, you still need to get it, but it's how it's presented, right? So it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So always focus on your tone, okay? Tone's very important. And especially in emails and text messages, guess what? There's no tone. That person on the other end's receiving it. So you might not have meant to say it that way when you wrote it, typed it, texted it, but it got perceived that way. So be very, very, very careful when it comes to tone, especially in text and emails. And then my last tip would be to always remain with good eye contact. Whether you're meeting somebody for the first time and you're shaking their hand and you're meeting them and you have eye contact, or whether you're engaged in a conversation, whether it's with 2 people or 20 people, 200 people, 2,000 people, you want to remain with good eye contact. If you don't have good eye contact, people aren't really going to perceive you as being honest in what you're saying because you're kind of looking around, and that's a little squirrely. So you've got these 5 tips now. What can you do on campus? How can you walk out right now? Because you may be saying, I'm a freshman. I got 4 years. I don't have to worry about this yet. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. So the things that you can do, and we heard about this already in the first presentation, one of the things you can do is join an organization. Preferably obtain a leadership position within that organization. Put yourself out there. Make yourself have to do Who loves presentations? So several of you do. Good. That was like a presentation geek too. I love doing presentations, but a lot of people do not like public speaking. So take a public speaking class, make sure you put yourself out there, do presentations, put yourself in leadership positions, network with your professors. Do not start school and sit in the back of the room and don't talk to your professor. Don't do that. You need to network with your professors. 28 years ago, I met a professor in a human resource class, and he hired me when I graduated. That's how I got my job. What I thought would be a 5-year job or a short-term gig. 28 years later, I got a job because I met a professor. So meet a professor. Network, business professionals, employers. We're on campus all the time. Talk to us. Read, write, do presentations and public speaking like I talked about. And last but not least, make sure that you utilize the Career Center. They're here for you. So written communications, they want to help you with your resume. They really, really do. And in terms of verbal communications, they'll help you become masters in interviewing. You will walk away being an incredible interviewee. So if you are sitting out there thinking, it's 4 years, I got a lot of time, you don't. You do not. Start today. The person sitting next to you in terms of networking could have a parent or a family friend that works at the company that's your dream job company. Everybody you meet, every grade you make, right? Every class you take is going to impact that. Okay, so I'm going to leave you with one last thing, a quote from John Powell. John Powell said, "Communication works for those who work it." You have to work it, right? So I urge you, I challenge you to leave today, take those tips, and start working it. You will land your ace job. Check out City Furniture. When we're on campus, we'd love to talk to you. We'll see you at FAU games. Go Owls.
All right. Thank you again, Janet. What a powerful talk. Give her one more hand. All right. Let's turn to those idea clouds.